Well, hey everybody. Welcome to the update preview stream. This is Bugs here. I'm joined today by Miss D and Artemis. Say hi, guys.
Hello, everyone.
Hi guys.
So, what do we have going on today? Well, we are 1 week since the forced wipe and update, and as is usual, we are seeing some fixes and also some forward progress on some new exciting features. As always, we're going to go through what is going on in development. We're over here on the staging branch. Not a ton to show off, but as always, feel free to ask any questions you have. Please do direct them to at Misty underscore that's me in chat, and we'll get to as many as we have the opportunity to. Also, real quick before we get into it, if you're wondering about when are server wipes, well, for Rustafied, it is the weekly Thursday servers wiping at 3 p.m. local time for the region. So that means AU and SEA wiped 12, 13 hours ago, something like that. And EU wiped 3 hours ago. And the US servers will wipe in 2 hours at 3 p.m. EST. It's going to be US main, small, Zen Labs, and solo. So let's get into it. Well, as is par for the course after a monthly update and forced wipe, we did see a number of hotfixes go live over the weekend in some optional and some not optional server and client updates. First and foremost, they fixed a number of things, including the explosive damage not damaging doors in some situations, the electric heater not giving warmth to plants directly in front, they increased the bike hurt trigger minimal speed from 1 millisecond to 4 and decreased the base unmultiplied damages from 6 to 4. Damage modifications, don't worry about it. And then the traveling vendor will now trigger the safe zone warning in the UI on the top right of the screen if a player is within 200 meters. They also extended some main bike box colliders, preventing the bike and sidecar from ending up on opposite sides of a thin wall. They fixed the sidecar bikes not getting pushed back when hitting animals and players, and bikes now ignore dropped items and ragdoll collisions. They also adjusted roadside electrical prefab LODing distance. Basically, it resolves a late popping issue when driving fast, which became more apparent with these new motorbikes zooming around. They fixed some barricade placement on roads. Handcuffed players can now be forced to mounted code locked cars. The NPC vending machine sales data gets reset, was getting reset on server restart, and they fixed that, so it's no longer getting reset. They also fixed cyclists' hands visually disconnecting from handlebars in a full turn. And when it comes to the surrender action, they renamed the friendly gesture to surrender and added a description basically warning that when you surrender using that gesture, it will allow players to access your inventory. So just giving people a heads up on this new dynamic. And then finally, there were various NRE fixes and other error fixes. Real quick, I want to acknowledge that on Saturday, a manual, or not manual, well, it was manual, but it was also mandatory client and server update was released. Kind of a last minute thing from FacePunch to combat some cheater situations. And unfortunately, this broke a bunch of plugins for people, specifically Harmony mod plugins, and required them be that they be rebuilt basically. And what this caused on a lot of community servers, including Rustafied, was some broken plugins after the update hit on Saturday. And then it did also require some various restarts to fix said plugins. So I do just want to acknowledge that breakdown and apologize, for any inconvenience that that did cause you shortly after wipe. I did reach out to the developers and made a request that for future mandatory updates, they give us a little more time and also if they can give us a heads up if a Harmony mod is going to require being rebuilt. And thankfully, they did get back to us and actually said that they're going to be implementing a thing where if they want to force a client update, it doesn't also require a server update because that's how the situation works right now. They have to basically what's called protocol plus plus and it was basically just to force the clients to update so that cheaters could stop using an old version, but it also required the server update, and that server update is what broke the plugins. So going forward in the near future, we should see less interruptions with such a mandatory update situation like the one we saw. Now, that being said, there is another mandatory server and client update scheduled for Monday. And I'm not sure if this is going to implement that change that they mentioned, or if it's just another thing for mitigating the hacker situation. But we are going to do our best here at Rustafied to be ready to rebuild the plugins if we need to, now that we know that that is, on the table. Because frankly, we haven't had to rebuild those plugins for months and months and months, if not more. But we're going to do our best to make sure that is a smooth update. And if you are a server owner, I do recommend you be on top of that for Monday because that update will be going live. I also want to take a moment to discuss the hacker mitigation because, as I mentioned, that mandatory update on Saturday was to mitigate the hacker situation through forcing hackers to update their clients. And although that did, you know, for momentarily, get in the way of hackers and it did slow them down for a brief period of time, it looks like it only took about half hour for the hackers to get around that mandatory update and start hacking again. So it's all to say, I really do appreciate what FacePunch is doing to mitigate the hacker situation. And I'm excited to see what they have in store for the future because there are some really interesting things that I won't go into detail about that could really throw a wrench in hackers' ability to do just that hack. That being said, unfortunately, Saturday, I won't call it a swing and a miss, but I will say it was more of a foul ball, if you will. And again, just to, apologize for the breakdown and any inconvenience that did cause. But yeah, that's what's going on with fixes. Again, there's another mandatory update on Monday, which could include some other fixes and improvements to the game that will remain to be seen. And what I will make sure to do is tweet or post or whatever on X with some more specifics on when the update goes live and what the update was indeed for. Now, also, there are some traveling vendor revisions in the works. Basically, with the new traveling vendor, there, and with basically any new addition to the game, it's very common that we'll see post the update some revisions and improvements to it. And so that is the case when it comes to this traveling vendor. They did improvements to the ordering system, which is really back end stuff. It's not necessarily going to be anything you as a player notice, but it's going to make it more efficient on the back end. They also made it so backfires now happen at a random point. So they kind of randomized the backfire noise. They also removed the infinite stock because when it launched, they had unlimited stock. And now what they're doing is making it so the stock will refill every 33% of the vendor's total lifetime. So basically, three times it seems like it'll refill instead of being just infinite from the get go. They also added an angry horn, which we were trying to be able to show off on the stream, but we weren't able to get this guy, no matter how we blocked him, we weren't able to get him to honk his angry horn at us. So hopefully next week we can show you that angry horn. And I know you all wait with bated breath on that one. They also, with this, fixed a bunch of various checks. They moved the vending machine back to shared. And I, frankly, as I say that, I don't know what the fuck that means. So if you have an idea, feel free to type in chat. But the post was moved vending machine back to shared, and that might just be a back end thing. I'm not really sure. And then finally, they did increase the max speed, and they even added a convar to control the max speed. And they did note that if you are a server owner and you increase the max speed, they are not responsible for the vendor flying off the road. But if you are on a modded server, you might see, or even a community server, you might see some vendors speeding around a little quicker than you would expect. And that would be because they have modified that speed convar. Now, of course, at Rustified, we are not going to modify that convar because we run vanilla and we utilize all vanilla convars for like 99% of things, with the slim exception that FacePunch allows us to modify something like Team UI and things like that. Now that's what we have going on for the traveling vendor revisions. Next up, we have some Zipline improvements coming in. And what they're doing here is basically making some enhancements to the Zipline experience. Each platform will now feature 4 additional dismount points two on the side and two higher up on the structure. And this adjustment allows for smoother transitions between multiple zip lines with less climbing involved. So that's a nice quality of life thing. In addition to that, the zip lines have been tweaked to prioritize destination points that are both further away and higher up. And what this does is maximizes the distance traveled and minimizes the time spent climbing up ladders. For an example on this on a 4K ProcGen map, these increases will average the distance, shift the average distance of the zip line from 121 meters to 188 meters. And the total server wide zipline length has expanded from 20 kilometers to 31 kilometers. So that's like over a 50% increase. Now, this is still in a separate branch, so there's no visuals yet. I do imagine it will come in for the update in August. And so later this month, we'll probably see a forced map wipe on staging and these new zipline improvements on there, at which point we will show it off to you so you can see just how long and high these zip lines are. Now, in more contentious news, there was a proposal and, in fact, initial work on a new body of, or a new functionality, I should say, of hostile footsteps. And the concept with this, the basic idea, was that teammates' footsteps would sound different from those of your enemies. And if you're like me, you listen to that and say, wait, okay, so they're going to make it so that enemies' footsteps sound different than your teammates. Okay, why? Why on earth would you do that? Like, seriously, what does that accomplish? Are we trying to give groups a better advantage than they already have? Thankfully, the outcry of um, disappointment with this concept was heard by the devs. It was very loud on socials. And thankfully, the devs have said, you know what, we're going to pump the brakes on this. And the whole functionality is thankfully being reconsidered because I didn't see one person who was like, oh, this is a great idea. Literally, everyone was like, why on earth would you do that? So, also, what we have going on, oh, and maybe we can show this off actually. I think maybe we can. I just realized dropped items in water. So, improvements for dropped
Ooh,
items in water.
sure.
And cool. Yeah. And if we can drop an AK in the water and then go under and see how it kind of floats down, what they've done basically is made it so that when an item is dropped in the water, it doesn't sink as swiftly as it would through the air, which previously it would. And this adds not only realism, but uh, it just makes more sense. It makes it easier to catch things that are dropped in the water. And on top of this, they added a gentle physics impulse every 1 or 2 seconds to kind of simulate underwater currents. And there's also a new splash effect triggered when items hit the water. And so that's kind of not only more realistic, but it adds a better visual cue for players. So we can see here it's kind of dropping slower and you can see follow the bubbles down and everything. So really it's just a lot easier or it will be a lot easier to find dropped
Hell
items
yeah. Yep.
in water. So that's a really cool quality of life thing. I love that. Now, also, there's initial work has started on various different things, one of which being a jungle ruins. And from the looks of it, this is going to be a new monument which will feature, well, just that jungle ruins. There really isn't any information on this yet, as it's just in the initial concept. And also, I don't believe we're going to see this anytime in the next couple months because, as you might have noted from previous monuments, these monuments are bespoke and made by hand from the ground up. And therefore, they do take a good amount of time to get from initial concept and development to production ready. And so I'm really excited to see some visuals on this. However, I think even getting some visual previews may be kind of a ways off. Now, in addition to, or as part of potentially this jungle ruin stuff, we are seeing initial work on a snake's branch and specifically a pit viper. So it looks like some new animals are in the works along with this new jungle ruin. And potentially, I think we could even see with this kind of a new biome type of jungle on some maps. And maybe the kind of key feature of the jungle biome will be this jungle ruins monument with some pit vipers and maybe some other things as well in there. So that's pretty exciting. It's going to be really cool to see new environmental contrast across the plains of Rust. And this, along with there was work on a caldera biome, kind of a volcanic, hot area. And these things get me really excited because the map and the landscape of Rust has been kind of static for a while now. And so to see some new environmental contrast and types of things in there is, I think, going to be a really cool addition to the game, and I'm really looking forward to it. They also did some hood and cuff changes. As you know, the hood and cuffs went live last week. And along with some of the changes they did to surrender gesture and stuff like that that already went live, they are doing a couple other changes to this, which will go live either with a hot fix on Monday or they may have to wait until the August force wipe and update. But what we are seeing is they added Equip Hood radial menu to the apply the prisoner. Well, I'm sorry. Let me restart that. They added an option to equip hood to the radial menu, which will apply the prisoner hood to a handcuffed player now that their belt can't be directly modified. And also, the belt is now locked during surrendering or being handcuffed to basically match other inventories.
Can we show that, Bugs? Do you know if it's
Um,
in?
I think it is in. Let's see if we can show that
Sure,
off
let's see.
too.
I will need someone's help if that's all right. If someone can injure themselves.
Yeah, Miss D, are you able to do that, or would you like me to hop in and do that?
No, I can try. Hold on. I had to turn God mode off and stuff like that.
If I had,
Yeah,
oh
but
God, if I had a nickel.
You're good.
All right, cool.
there we go. Yep, equipped.
Yeah, very good. So some
Oh goodness.
improvements to the hood and cuff functionality. Now there's a bunch of other stuff in the works. There's initial work on a boomerang, which could be a cool little low-level weapon that could even come back to you. If I know boomerangs, that could be possible. There's also work on a food cache, which I'm not sure what that is, if that's going to be a new, you know, loot type or special thing in the game. We'll keep you posted on that as more comes to light. There's also initial work for a tin can alarm, which could be cool, a little low level kind of base alarm type of thing going on there. So that would be nice. There's also more work on the Blunderbuster, which of course is that new weapon, which is going to be kind of a low tier, high power, slow reload shotgun of sorts from what we gather. No word on when that's going to come in, still on a separate branch, so no visuals yet. They did some tweaks to the underwater lighting and the torch underwater just to make some improvements there. They also did some more work on the cliffs rework. So this is going to be these cliffs that are all around the ProcGen maps. And this is another thing I'm really excited for because I think the current cliffs, although they're all right, I think there's a lot of room for improvement as far as navigation goes and visuals go. So it's going to be cool to see these new cliffs go live. Now, if you are a map maker, if you make custom maps, you might see this and go, "Oh God, are they going to ruin and remove the cliffs that exist, thereby making my previous maps that use cliffs, obsolete, and I have to fix them all up?" Well, thankfully, I did the other week, actually the other month at this point, get confirmation that they are going to keep the old cliff prefabs in when these new cliffs are launched. And so any custom maps should not be broken due to this cliff rework body of work, which is great. They also did some slight adjustments to the motorbike rear wheel position. Basically, they got the rear wheel to visually sit right on the ground, where sometimes it wasn't before. They're also in the realm of bikes doing initial work on bike burnouts, which could be cool. And also, just to say, is anyone else loving these bikes? These bikes are awesome, aren't they?
I've
Absolutely.
seen a lot of people use them. I haven't
Yeah,
played Rust release so much.
nothing but good comments as far as those bikes are concerned. So shout out to Facepunch for another great addition to the game. Also, finally, with bikes, they did fix the passenger eye rotation bug that was going on. So eyes were going all wobbly wobbly or something like that, and that should be fixed. If you had issues with IO flooding when trying to connect to a server, a fix for that has been deployed to staging. Hopefully, that's one of those fixes that we see go live with the Monday forced update and all that stuff. I also want to say that the forced or mandatory update on Monday, it's going to be a client and server update, but it will not force a wipe. So no one will lose progress on their servers when this update goes live. It just will require that both the server and the client does run the update. And finishing up, we got a bunch more work on the Radtown Redux. We've got some testing going on a new plastic material. We got also some testing going on cloth materials. So we might have more flowy cloth and even some plastic in the mix in the near future. And then finally, there is more work on the Frontier Hatchet, which of course is part of the upcoming Frontier Hazmat DLC, which will be kind of in line with the other DLCs that we've seen in the past for hazmats, where it's not only a hazmat suit, but maybe a couple tools. And I don't know if it's going to be an AK or if this is going to be the launch of the SKS rifle, but apparently they were saying that they were considering launching the SKS rifle just to the game in general. I'm not 100% on that, so we'll kind of have to wait and see. But it's all to say there is a Frontier Hazmat DLC coming in the near future, maybe August, maybe later on. But yeah, that's what we got going on for development news this week. And Miss D, do we have any questions from the audience?
I think we have like two.
Ooh, two.
Two. Is there any ideas if they are working on optimizing campfires and furnaces and electrical furnaces? Everyone is setting up charcoal factories, and it drains the FPS like crazy.
I feel you on that. And I really hope they are, because with that and various things with the industrial system, it is unfortunate to be trying to run a high pop, long wipe, aka monthly wipe server, because performance is really hindered at the moment. I will say with confidence that the performance of the last update is much worse than we've seen in various updates in previous months. And so if you're wondering why like EU Long 3 is capped at 350 pop, well, that's not our choice. That's mandatory for us to do because performance was so shitty after this last update. Furthermore, if you look at why EU main is only 750 pop today instead of 800, 900, man, I would love for that to be 1200 pop if it could run it. But over here at Rustafied, unlike maybe some other places, we do prioritize performance over cramming everyone into the server. So we are working with what we're given here. And it is all to say we're approaching the point where the devs really do need to consider doing some real performance updates, or I would even settle for giving server moderators and server administrators the ability to throttle more things that are the culprits of poor performance, so that in the instances where we are experiencing poor performance, we have more control and tools to mitigate that poor performance. But it is, I will say, as a server owner, frustrating when an update like this comes out, because we last month were able to run a lot more people, and that sets a context for the community that will be able to continue doing that. And then when we have to throttle the slots of a server due to the performance issues, what we get is a lot of misunderstanding from the community. And how that comes across is fix your fucking servers, stop hosting your shit servers on shit boxes, get a new host, stop trying to squeeze us to sell VIP by making the queues really long, and various other narratives that are understandably spawned from people who just don't understand the situation. It's all to say, I would love to have as many people on the servers as possible, providing performance is high. But again, when performance is low due to a recent update, then we will throttle the servers as much as possible to maintain as much performance as possible. And this does understandably cause upset, and it is just something to manage that I do wish we wouldn't have to. So again, I would love if the devs do prioritize some performance updates. I'm not aware of any specifics of that going on. I do acknowledge that performance is an ebb and flow thing, and some months it's better, some months it's worse. As certain things are added, it can require uh, iterations of optimization rounds to get them to a more performant state. And also, when you're adding things as a dev, it's very hard to tell how it's going to scale. And so, oftentimes, they might not know that something's going to be a detriment to performance in testing just because they don't have an environment where they can simulate 900 people in a server over the course of several days of a fresh wipe. So I do have, patience at this point for the devs, and I do appreciate everything they do, but it is time to start prioritizing performance again. Not like just without a doubt, and not just on the server side, but on the client side as well. So that's where I stand with that.
Thank you for that, Bugs. So apparently I sound like an NPC talking.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's our
Yeah,
new
right?
AI
So,
driven Miss D.
yeah, so I have an answer that is I am these nuts in your face.
There we go. She's
Yeah,
learning.
yeah. Anyways, let's see. Next question. Was wondering if they're going to add a horn to motorcycles. Thank you for all your team does.
Uh, That's a good question. And I'm thinking maybe I'm just thinking of the bell, but yeah, they should add a horn on the motorcycles. They have the light on the motorcycles and they have the bell on the bikes.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, we should have a horn for sure. I'm with you.
Is there any plans on adding more servers to SEA region?
Oh boy, that's the other thing going on is there is an active routing issue that just popped off the other hour in SEA. And I will say, of all the regions we have, SEA is the weakest when it comes to hosting because of very limited hosting options out of Singapore and that region in general. We are stuck on OVH, which, if you're familiar with hosting, you'll know is a big conglomerate who doesn't give a shit about their customers and just kind of they have decent prices, I guess, but their service and their DDoS protection is, well, let's just say it leaves room to, you know, for improvement. And what we're experiencing now is certain ISPs in the region are not routing properly as of just 2 hours ago. And so when it comes to the idea of opening more servers in the region, I'm disinclined to do so, just given I don't like opening servers that can't be run performantly and provide the environment of quality gameplay that we strive for. This is also why you may remember we had South America servers out of Brazil. But after a year and a half or so of trying to get good hosts and provide a valid, stable, performant place to play the game, we gave up because there's just no options there. And I'm not giving up on SEA yet. And OVH is acceptable a lot of the time, but it's not up to par with our other hosts. GSK is who we're using in US and EU, and Tempest is who we're using in AU. Tempest is apparently having some issues, and I hope they stick around because if we lose Tempest in AU, we're going to be stuck with OVH as well. And man, that would be a disappointment because we'd have to drastically scale back the servers. But just in full transparency, that's the situation that's going on now. We're trying to get a response from OVH on what's going on with the routing issues. Clearly, this is out of our control. I don't control global routing of the internet as much as maybe sometimes I wish I did. But yeah, it's all to say, no, I'm not opening new servers in SEA anytime soon. Sorry.
So I just read this one. It's not a question for me, but I had to read it out loud. I thought it was funny. Last wipe, you kept saying the update is live. Red. I'm sorry.
Oh man, we're breaking D.
So, no, I'm starting again. Last wipe, you kept saying the update is live rather than saying how to update, so I had to buy VIP to Rustoria.
Oh geez. Okay. Well, you're on your own journey, and I respect and honor the journey you're on. But yeah, when the update is live, I do recommend that you check your Steam library for an update being queued. If you don't see it, you can restart Steam. And if you don't see it after that, then your best bet is to right click onto Rust and go to Properties, go to Local Files tab, and verify integrity of local game cache. And if you do that, then the first thing it does in that process of verifying integrity is actively reach out to the Steam servers to ping for an update. And so going forward, that would be my recommendation. And I hope you had a good wipe on Toria.
Yeah, step 1, step 2, step 3, etc. Um, is there any news on hackers?
On hackers, well, as I mentioned earlier, the Facepunch team is doing and being more proactive than we've seen in the past on mitigating the hacker situation. That was the cause of the forced server and client update on Saturday. Unfortunately, as I did mention, it seems like many hackers got around that in about half an hour. So, if not a swing and a miss, as I said, foul ball. But there are more plans in the future for mitigating hackers, and Facepunch is being very proactive on it. If you read the last dev blog, you can get a little sense of their world, of where they're operating from. And given some information I have that is privileged and I won't share, I will say there are some interesting ideas they have in the future that could really potentially put a wrench in the hacker situation. In the meantime, it's still a fucking mess. We're still banning hundreds of hackers a day. We're still doing the best we can. I've done a couple interviews this week to bring on new staff. I'm working on an ingest system. I'm not going to go into the details, but we're grabbing a lot of data off the servers now. And if you can critically think about what I might do with that data and, you know, technology enhancements we've seen in the past year, you might have a sense for where we might be going. And I am investing, I will say, a lot of money in building this out because it's been 10 years. EAC can't mitigate the situation. Facepunch is doing their best, but the situation has not been mitigated. So I'm investing my own funds in trying to create a solution that hopefully will mitigate, at least for our servers to start. And it's all to say we're doing everything we can. I am active and my team is active in Discord as much as possible. So if you are playing a Rustafied server and you come across a hacker, please do go to my.rustafied.com, log in with Steam, create a report, note the report ID, and then please go into Discord and say, hey, I got a hot one here, and paste that report ID. And we will look into it as soon as possible. We're being as proactive as possible with this situation. But the situation is pretty untenable still. And I very much look forward to a solution because at the end of the day, the onus initially is on the easy anti cheat to get rid of hackers. To the extent they don't do their job, which they haven't consistently ever, then the onus falls on us as server owners. And we are drastically limited in our tool set. We don't have the tools, we don't have the insight that EAC has. And we're very limited in our ability. And if you think about it, you got to log into a server, spectate someone, hope they're not just base bitching at the moment, hope they're out fucking slaughtering nakeds in the dark or something. But to even catch a hacker, it's can be a time consuming process. And when we're dealing with thousands of players across 37 servers, well, you can imagine it's a arduous task to say the least. So once again, I would love that onus to go back on EAC, the people who are paid to get rid of hackers and have been for over a decade, and have some of that onus shift back off of us because I would love to just focus on other things like building out our stat system and our leaderboard system and various other quality of life things that I would love to create and haven't been able to because we're focusing so much on hackers. Also, it really kind of dips my mental health a little bit when you're just dealing with hackers over and over and over and dealing with negative, low vibratory comments in Discord complaining about the hackers. It's completely understandable the frustration, but man, does it kind of take a toll on your mental health over time. And I would love to sunset that part of my life. So that's where we're at.
Is there any official number of the increase of cheaters?
You can see the stats from the last dev blog. They one of the things FacePunch is really great about is being transparent, and they posted their numbers just from their official servers over the past several months. So you can see month by month their numbers. I'll say with confidence that we're banning between 300 and 400 players a day actively. These are people not caught by EAC. They're people very often with an account that was first seen 3 hours ago. They come into the server, go 10-1 or something like that with kill to death ratio, and somehow EAC can't catch these people. So we've set up custom triggers and we have various things to alert us of this even before the players F7 or report on our site. But it's all to say it's a big problem still. It's a big problem. And I look forward to what FacePunch has in store in the near future because, again, they are working on it. And I so appreciate that. But it doesn't work to sit here and pretend it's not an issue. It's an issue. And it's an issue that not only can ruin wipes for individual players and groups week after week, but over time it can degrade the entirety of the game. And I would hate to see that because I love this game. I've spent the last 10 years of my life pretty much dedicated to this game. And it would be such a shame to see it go by the wayside due to lack of ability to mitigate the hacker situation.
Yeah. Can you explain a bit more about the news on the jungle stuff?
Well, unfortunately, not really, because the devs haven't really released any information with regards to it other than what we've seen in the commits, which is just that there is a jungle ruins monument coming. And there's also some snakes coming, including a pit viper, which I imagine, would be part of that jungle ruin. But, use your mind's eye a little bit and add a little rusty twinge on it. And it's probably not that far off from what we're going to see. That said, once we do have some visuals and more information, you'll be the first to know about it if you're looking at rustified.com or following Rustified on X because we will post as soon as we know more.
Apart from Charitable Rust, it would be great if Rustafied hosted a creator event similar to Rustopia Invitational.
I appreciate you saying that, and I'll be honest, probably not. And the reason? Because trying to get a bunch of creators together in a way that is productive, entertaining, and doesn't produce a bunch of drama and death threats is like herding cats in the middle of a warehouse fire. I wish I knew how to do it, but man, am I not even going to try these days because we have tried things in the past, and boy, did they crash and burn. The priority now is getting rid of hackers. I would love for that not to be the main priority, but it is. It's my central focus and it's my team's central focus. We try to run the best servers that we can, have them be as high quality and performant as possible, and remove hackers as quickly as possible. And within that, there's not much time for anything else. I am excited about Charitable Rust. If you're not aware, it's going to be October 12th, and it's going to be that weekend. We're going to have a 2x vanilla gameplay server running for a week. We're supporting Direct Relief, which is an amazing organization that helps bring aid to conflict zones around the world. And within that event, we're going to have the classics like the art contest and parkour and various other games and races. And of course, we're going to have Twitch drops and items available on the item store, the proceeds of which go towards this cause as well. And so, over the past 10 years, we've raised over $1.3 million for various charities. I'm confident that we're going to bring that number up over 1.5 million this year, and I'm really excited about it. A big shout out to the skin creators working on the skin contest that is live this month. If you are a skin creator and you're interested in participating, please go to charitablерust.com/skins. And shout out to the whole team at Charitable and everyone helping to produce this event. We'll have more information on that. We'll have teaser trailers and stuff like that in the near future. But in the meantime, the best thing to do is just mark your calendars October 12th, 2024. That is a Saturday, and we're really excited for this, and I look forward to seeing you there.
This is not a question, but I'm gonna read it out. You guys do a great job all the time. I love I love how in depth you get. Please keep up the great work. See you all next time.
Thank you so much for saying that. It brings a smile to my face and much love to you. And really, thank you to everyone who supports us through viewing the stream, through viewing the blog, through giving bits, subscribing on Twitch, and to our wonderful, beautiful, loyal VIP customers. A lot of people tune in and think, hey, these developers are doing something or something. They think we're developers or they think we're on the Facepunch payroll. And neither of those are the case. We are just an independent organization who runs the best servers that we can and loves reporting on development news week after week, month after month. We've been doing this now for 10 years. So thank you so much for the support. We really wouldn't be here without the support of the community, and we wouldn't be able to continue this without that support. So really much love to you all and infinite gratitude. Thank you.
I think that's it.
Cool. I'll do a little recapity cap. And again, if you have any questions, please do at Misty underscore that's AI in chat. Oh, no, Misty underscore that's me in chat.
Yeah, someone actually said that in chat just before. I
Nice.
thought it was
Yeah,
hilarious.
I did peek that. I stole that from them.
Yeah.
So copyright TM, whoever said that first.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. But yeah, going on, we've got hot fixes, as is common after the forced wipe and update. Basically, they fixed a bunch of stuff. They fixed explosive damage, not damaging doors in certain situations. They fixed the electric heater, not giving warmth to plants directly in front. The bike hurt triggers have increased and they decreased some damage multipliers. And the traveling vendor will now trigger the safe zone warning UI when you're within 200 meters. And they changed some bike box colliders to prevent some, getting stuck behind opposite sides of wall situations. They fixed sidecar bikes not getting pushed back when hitting animals, and they have bikes now ignore dropped items and ragdoll collisions. They've also done some adjustments to the roadside electrical prefabs where they were popping in and out due to some LOD issues when you were driving fast, which is now the more common situation given these awesome new motorbikes in the game. They fixed barricade placement on roads. They handcuffed players can be forced to mount on code locked cars. They fixed the NPC vending machine sales data getting reset on server restart. Some fixes for cyclist hands visually disconnecting from handlebars at a full turn. And when it comes to the hood and cuffs, they renamed the friendly gesture to surrender and basically gave a warning that the gesture will allow players to access your inventory. And on top of that, finally, they did fix a number of NRE fixes and other various errors. Now, when it comes to fixes, there is another mandatory client and server update coming out on Monday. So do stay tuned for that. We're going to do our best to update the servers as smoothly as quickly as possible. They also have done some traveling vendor revisions. Basically, there's going to be an angry horn and there's going to be some improvements to the ordering backend system. Not really going to impact you guys. They did remove the infinite stock. So now the stock will refill every 33% of the vendor's total lifetime. And they also increased the max speed of the vendor. So it'll go a little faster, even adding a new convar. So if server owners want to speed up that vendor even further, they are now able to. On top of that, there's some more zipline improvements coming in. Basically, they are adding 4 additional dismount points to the platforms. 2 of them will be on the side, 2 on the higher up on the structure, basically just to make it smoother between multiple zip lines and less climbing involved. On top of that, they tweaked the prioritization of destination points that are both further and higher up, maximizing the distance travel and minimizing the time spent climbing ladders. Basically, long and short, they increased the zipline length across the server by over 50%. So that's on a separate branch, but we're excited to show that off when we can. In a more contentious realm, there was this concept floated and started initially working on where it was going to be hostile footsteps, where basically your teammates' footsteps sound different than that of your enemies. And if you're hearing that and going, what the fuck are they thinking? Well, you're not alone. A lot of people said that. And thankfully, based on the community feedback, Helk mentioned that they are pumping the brakes on that change and it is being reconsidered. So, shout out to Facepunch for being so proactive and listening to the community and responding quickly because it was really just an afternoon of people on X going, no, this is awful. Don't do this. Don't do this. And then they were like, whoa, shit. Okay, we won't do this. They improved dropped items in water, which I'd love to show off again real quick. Basically, they made it so items dropped in water don't fall at the same speed as they would in air. They added some physics things as well. So they kind of like fluctuate around to simulate the motion of the ocean, if you will. And they've, got some nice bubbles and all that stuff. So basically, it's a lot easier to track and pick up an item that is dropped in the ocean. And you can see that AK kind of floating down, and that is the effect. So it's going to be a lot easier to see where things go and grab them. Also, as mentioned before, they are working on a new monument named Jungle Ruins. On top of that new monument, they've got initial work on snakes, specifically a pit viper. So it looks like we might have not only a jungle monument coming, but maybe even a jungle biome with some new NPC animals and things like that. No real specifics on that yet, no visuals yet, as it is just in the initial work, but we are really excited about that one. It looks like it's going to be a really cool addition to the game. They've also done some changes to hood and cuffs where basically the belt is now locked during surrendering or being handcuffed to match other inventories. And they added an equip hood option to the radial menu so that you can apply a hood to a prisoner who's now handcuffed. And that's cool. And on top of that, some initial work on a new boomerang, a new food cache, and a new tin can alarm. So we could have that boomerang be like a low grade weapon that maybe will come back to you. Food cache, I'm not really sure. Could be a new type of loot, could be a new feature on the map. And then the tin can alarm is going to be really cool, especially early on in wipe, because it strikes me as kind of a low level electrical free, alarm system that can warn you when people are a place where maybe they shouldn't be. So I'm excited to see that one go live on staging so we can show it off. Not sure when that will be. Its initial work just started like today, or yesterday, so we'll keep you posted. More work on the Blunderbuster, which of course is going to be that kind of low tier, single shot, kind of janky ass but high power shotgun. So no visuals on that, but we'll keep you posted. And more tweaks to underwater lighting and the torch. And there's more work on the cliffs rework. And they fixed the motorbike rear wheel position so it wasn't like under the ground ever. They're doing initial work on bike burnouts, which is cool. So you can burn out in these new cool motorbikes. There's some fixes to the bike driver camera roll. So if you flip over, it's not going to be as big of a camera like craziness thing going on. And they fixed, along the same lines, a passenger eye rotation bug with the bikes. There are some fixes to IO flooding. So if you're trying to connect to a server and hitting some IO flooding messages, that hopefully should be fixed in the very near future. That's one I'm hoping does go live with the update on Monday. There's a bunch more work on Radtown Redux. They're working on some new materials, including a plastic material and some new cloth materials. And then finally, there's more work on the Frontier Hatchet, which is going to be, from the looks of it, part of the Frontier Hazmat DLC, which will be coming soon. And similar to other Hazmat DLCs we've seen in the past, feature a hazmat suit, some tools, and maybe even an AK or another type of weapon. So we'll keep you posted as more comes to light on that. And that is what we got as far as the recapity cap is concerned. Miss D, do we have any other questions from the audience before we wind this puppy down?
Yes, we have one longer one. Um, would like to would like to see some changes in events conducted during Charitable Rust. Would be great to see events focused on participation from all types of Rust players, like a PvP focused server during Charitable Rust where you can get kits/guns by donating.
We actually are on the 2x Vanilla server considering doing donation based kits for this year. So it's all to say we are taking that into consideration, and you can hopefully expect to see some changes in that realm. And thank you for that feedback, and we're definitely taking that into consideration.
Yeah. Choo choo, motherfuckers. I think that's it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's call it at that. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in. We are not developers of the game. We're not on the Facepunch payroll. We are just an independent organization that loves reporting on development news and running the best servers that we can. And the only way we can do that week after week, month after month, going on 10 years now, over 10 years now, is through the support of the community. So to everyone who tunes in and watches each week, to people who give us bits and subscribe on Twitch, and to our wonderful, beautiful, loyal VIP customers, thank you all so much, really from the bottom of my heart. We wouldn't be able to do this without you. So much love to you all. And thank you again for tuning in. Thank you, Misty and Artemis, for being my co MCs as always.
You're welcome as always.
Yep, my pleasure as always.
And yeah, with that, I hope you all have a wonderful week and a wonderful wipe. This is Bugs signing off.